Hi, welcome to Quirky Queen's Journal. My name's Kirsten. So today we're going to use the jelly plate, an oil pastel, some sprayers, a pile of random papers, our black and white acrylic paint. We may go wild with a bit of red, magenta primary. I chose it because it's a transparent in case we feel the urge to test a bit of transparency. Now, I've got this big old textbook that you can buy for about £3.50 maybe on eBay. Or you may have one lying about at home. But it's just got lots and lots of paper in it that you can use. It actually will transfer the words as well. So what I've done is I've tested two oil pastel brands. Oops. So this is Gallery. So this is a good professional oil pastel. And I've just made lots and lots of different pictures. This is brown oil pastel, Stegler. So this is a cheap one that you can probably, I think it's about £5 to buy these, whereas these are about 45, you know, for a set of, that's a set of 48. I don't have the packaging for this, but they're cheap anyway. So I've got that. I've also got this book. This is another thing that you can buy cheap on eBay for about £3.50. The Encyclopedia of Signs and Symbols. It's actually got a paper cover on it as well. That's kind of black and white with a bit of red. But it's all signs and symbols from around the world and over history. And what I like to do is just open it at a random page. And then when I'm doing my line work with the oil pastel, I can just look at that for sort of inspiration. I do my own designs, but what I do sometimes when you're drawing, you'll feel a bit stuck. You know, you're like, what direction to go in? And sometimes you can just see a line there. Like that's got quite a sharp corner. Whereas that's a bit more rounded. And something can just catch your eye and make you think, oh, I'll go in that direction, and then that's you off again doing your thing. So this is the good professional oil pastel. And I'm just randomly doing that. And then this is the cheap oil pastel. So it doesn't move as smoothly, and I tend to go over it just to get another layer on top. But the other side of this is that this will give you a different type of line. So therefore, both these oil pastels are actually very useful to have these different types, because the line work, there will be subtle differences. Now, this is one that I did earlier on the gel plate, and I love how it's turned out. And you can see some of the words have came down on there. But I think it's very effective, and I love, see the way the line is? It's very solid, as in it's very clear, the shape. But there's so much texture in the line work itself. The first method we're going to use is the method that's left this imprint on my gel plate. Now, I could use baby oil to take that off just now, but I'm just going to work over the top of it because it's not going to affect the print. And we'll do this one first. So we can get more use out of it, the first way I'm going to use it is by lying it on the jelly plate while the jelly plate's got nothing on it. Do you know what I like about this textbook paper as well? It suctions well to the gel plate. It feels like it's about 50 GSM. It's definitely less than printer paper. for sure. Anyway, so we've got our print, and I'm going to pull it up with white paint. So in this case, the colour of the oil pastel will show. With the other method, it does not show. We'll use this. Just a bit of... It's got a kind of newsprint quality type feel to it. Okay. Now it's very faint, but it is there. Okay. And we'll do this one now. I've got some prints where I leaned a lot heavier with the oil pastels, and we'll compare them as well, because that's another way to make changes to your line work. It's just the pressure you're using. It'll get darker. It'll probably make it less raggedy as well, because you're going over the same line again. Okay, so again, it's very faint, but it's there. Now I'll put some baby oil on here and just let you see how easily it cleans up. This method's more exciting. So I'm going to use the black paint, and the first thing I'm going to do is test the ones that we used in the first section, because obviously some of that oil pastel will have come off, so it'll be interesting to see if it still got enough oil pastel to make a mark on the paint, well, to resist the paint. So this is the first one we used, so it definitely feels like there's less oil pastel on it, for sure. Oh, still left as a resist. And some words. Now, I actually wasn't expecting it to be that clear, so I'm actually really impressed. I also prefer this method, let's be honest. It's much more exciting. Well, I'm excited to see the word physical chemistry on it. Oh, it lifts so well. Look at it. It's beautiful. Oh, I love this. So let's do the brown one that we did earlier. So the brown one is the cheap oil pastel. That was the good oil pastel, the green one. Do you know, actually look at the difference in these two. And then that's the oil pastel page. Oil pastel directly on the gel plate, oil pastel on the paint. Fantastic. Ooh. This one actually, it's left, you can feel the paint's more over that, but you can feel that the oil pastel, there's still a resistance to the paint on that page. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, do you see here? difference between the cheaper oil pastel. I drew it on those pages with the same sort of pressure. And so, see, if you were drawing a picture and you could have those two different line works in it, it would just, you know, that's variety right there. But because it's been drawn by the same hand, which is mine, there's cohesion. So next, we're going to test if we can pull these with the paint again. No, there's really not much there at all, is there? Okay, that's very... Do you see that? First pull, second pull. So I would say you can use it on the empty gel plate first of all, leave an imprint and pull it up like so, and then use it on top of the paint to get a really strong print. We're also going to do some that we have not done that first empty gel plate print, just to see if it changes the line work any. So this is the cheaper oil pastel Staedtler. It's definitely left a stronger imprint. Look, it's still not great. There we go. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? They both pulled clean away, but the brown paper's still... So really, you don't... They could maybe be used to add atmosphere in the background or something, but really, you've got your first use of the empty gel plate and your second use to get that really sharp image. So next what we're going to do is we're going to test them being used the first time in the black paint and see what happens. It'd be interesting to see if there's a difference with this one. Interesting. I would say there's no significant difference. Although I'm wondering if I have laid a bit heavier here because there's definitely a darker line. Interesting. Now we'll try one of the brown ones. Oh, I've got this one that I drew like a sort of mother and child. Okay. Okay. We had a little camera mishap and I missed showing you this being pulled off the gel plate. So basically this brown cheaper oil pastel works just as well as the more expensive green oil pastel, and the line work from a fresh oil pastel resist paper that's not been used before has very minimal difference to one that had been used in an empty gel plate. Right, so this time we're going to do one that's got a lot of pressure being applied when I've been doing the oil pastel. Like this one here, you can see. Oops. You can see there that's very dark. Is it going to be much different from before? This is a bit of sketchbook paper. That oil pastel was used in the empty gel plate before it was used on the black paint. That was used directly on the black paint, and this is with a higher pressure on the oil pastel on the black paint. There's really not much difference, although I would say that this line is sharper on the edges, and also it is a more solid black, but it's still got the oil pastel kind of, you know, brush strokes, if you like. What would you call an oil pastel? Crayon strokes, maybe? This is the brown one I pressed quite hard with. Right, let's find the other brown ones. Pressed on the empty gel plate and then pressed into the black paint. Pressed directly into the black paint. Oil pastel applied with high pressure and then pressed into the black paint. There's very little differences, but there is subtle differences. That's obviously much more solid. Not just thicker in line. And the raggedness, the outline is sharper. In fact, you can see it there. Look, I've obviously only kind of that one, whereas here's obviously had quite a lot gone over. Let's put it in the transparent paint this time. Do you know what I'm thinking? We'll use the purple, because then we're staying with the same brand of paint. So this is the expensive oil pastel. Oh, nice. I love this. Oh, that's terrible cutting. You know, I've got a lot of tissue paper that I've actually cut up. Why am I fiddling with this? This is just normal tissue paper. Would I say the line works much different with the transparent paint? No. No. But obviously, it's nice to have the options. And transparent paint can be used over the opaque and you'll still see what's underneath. So there we go. Next thing I want to try is, I wonder, it feels like it won't, but I wonder if if we'll get more luck second time around because it was transparent paint. I'm just going to put a bit of both on here. Still just similar to before, more atmospheric in the suggestion of something. There we go. So for the last one, I think we should use it to add texture to some stencils. And let's add some texture. Kind of like the thought of using this with all the spiky lines. It's not really texture, it's more just additional line work, isn't it? And obviously as well, you could rip your papers down to a smaller size to just do part of it. I'm just going to put it on the back of this one. I love it. I think it needs more. It's like a wispiness in the background. I wouldn't say movement as such. It's not really got a movement because these are so static and solid, but yeah. Right, I'm going to set that up again and we will try a second layer on top of it. You could also use that again to just really pick up what's in those shapes. Obviously you won't get the shape because it's just lines, but it'll be contained in that. That would be interesting. Right, let it dry. I'm going to use the purple next. We'll put another oil pastel transfer down. Right, here's some shapes. I feel like I'm getting away with it. Right, don't overdo it, Kirsten. See, we've lost some of it, but it's still there. Do you know what I love about this? The fact that the purples came across. The purple, the second layer, is actually more dominant than the black layer. Okay, so this was the one where we did the cheaper oil pastel with directly on the empty gel plate, then used the same picture to go directly into the black paint. This is where we used the more expensive oil pastel. On the empty gel plate, and then using the same one to go into the black paint. There is no difference, no significant difference between the expensive oil pastel and the cheaper oil pastel, which is good. Now, this was just the oil pastel used on normal pressure. There we go. again, just the same as when we used it on the empty gel plate first. This is the one where we used, you know, when we used the oil pastel, we were a bit more aggressive with it, and we, you know, had thicker lines. And that's where, although the differences between this and the previous lighter oil pastel application, just there is more of a sharpness to the edge, and the line itself does seem more solid. This is also one that I did under high, you know, when I applied pressure in the application. But I forgot to turn the camera on, so I like that wee design. It's a bit flowery. Then this is the one that I did to have a wee try before I put the camera on. So that was the oil pastel sheet. That was it used on the empty gel plate. That was it used on the black paint on the gel plate, and that's when I tried to use it again in the paint on the gel plate. I chose white that time. So really, you get an empty gel plate transfer, you get a a paint transfer, and you can pick up some subtleties that are quite grungy after you've used it in the paint. And then these are the ones where I started sort of looking at ways to use it to make a complete picture. So this was one stencil layer using the oil pastel resist in the background. Lovely, sharp. And it's going to be interesting because what's going to happen now is I'm going to have these sharp bits and then grungy bits, sharp bits, you know, so that's going to be interesting to reuse them with the stencil shapes on them. And then this is it with the second layer where I added in the transparent paint with the oil pastel resist on top of what was that one. And then these are just the transparent paint resists, which worked out exactly the same as the opaque paint. So that is us, and I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much for watching, and take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.